Well, hello again. I'm coming to you on Sunday, uh, December 15th, and I'd like to talk to you about something that I've been studying and reading about lately, and that is the origins of Judaism. It seems that Judaism really doesn't take shape until the Hellenistic period, maybe the late Persian period, that is between 539 and 330, 330 with Alexander's victory. But it's really more of a Hellenistic development, and that is between 330 and 166. In fact, 166 seems to be the key date because of the Hasmonean and the Maccabean rebellion. It is at this time that there is archaeological evidence that Judaism, at least Torah teachings, that is the first five books of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and Leviticus, are known by the Yahwist population in Judea. Uh, it's probably the effect of the Hasmonean victory over the Seleucids, Hellenistic Seleucids, that brings about the development of Judaism, at least in discernible terms, in terms that we would recognize, or recognizable terms for us today. I find two scholars, Gad Barnea, the University of Haifa, and Jonathan Adler, the university, again, Israeli University, Ariel University, who have written on this subject. Barnea is studying the archaeological and documentary results of the excavation at Elephantine Island. This is an island, the first cataract of the Nile, that is across from Aswan, where a sizable Yahwist community that is worshiping Yahweh existed. About 3 to 5,000 estimated Yahwists were at Elephantine Island for about a century and a half, between about the mid 6th century, that's 550, to about 400 or 399, which is the last date given in documentary evidence. But the interesting thing is that this community, according to Dr. Barnea, did not know anything about Torah, didn't know about Genesis or any of the other four books of the Torah. Didn't know about Moses, didn't mention Moses, and in fact set up a temple to Yahweh. But along with the worship of Yahweh at that temple, there was worship of Anat and other deities. There was a triad, in fact, of deities, although Yahweh seemed to be the most important deity worship there. There was also, according to Dr. Barnea, a great influence by Persian Zoroastrianism. These Yahwist seem to be closely associated with the Persian imperial authorities, and may have provided them both an administrative and a military service in Egypt. Egypt was a hotbed of rebellions, and therefore these Yahwists may have been settled there to assist the Persian authorities in controlling the Egyptians. The temple at Elephantine Island also seemed to have an astrakhan, that is the fire cauldron associated with the worship of Ahura Mazda, the Persian god. And there is something called the Passover letter, where these Yahwists basically asked for permission to hold a festival. And some have construed it as a Passover festival, but most scholars, certainly scholarly consensus, doesn't see it as a Passover festival, but rather a end of winter festival. So the Passover letter doesn't contain the word Passover and doesn't refer to any ritual associated with the later Passover. Again, no traces of anything associated with what we would recognize as Judaism at Elephantine, and we have thousands of papyri. We have the archaeological evidence, and there is nothing. Of course, one can only go so far in developing theses based on the absence of data, but it seems to, at least on prima facie, indicate that Judaism was not a part of Yahwist worship. Yahweh, of course, is the God that comes out of southern Canaan and absorbs El. El was a much more prominent god in the Canaanite, in the northern Canaanite tradition. He's worshipped at Ugarit. We have the Ugarit documents that mention El, mention Baal, but do not mention Yahweh at all. Yahweh seems to be emerging out of the south, either Midianite or out of what is today Jordan, and eventually becomes the dominant god by absorbing El in the Iron Age. But during the Bronze Age, certainly the Ugarit documentation doesn't indicate anything about Yahweh. Doesn't mention him at all. Yahweh does come out of later on. But again, even when Yahweh is worshipped before the Hellenistic period, before 166, there is no indication that it is monotheistic or that it follows Torah law. So that Judaism is not, is not Yahwehism. Yahwehist worship is not monotheistic; it is polytheistic, and it does not include the legal strictures of Torah. This is also confirmed by the investigations of Dr. Jonathan Adler in his book, Origins of Judaism. And I would urge you to see both the research of Dr. Adler and Dr. Barnea. But Adler looks at Jerusalem and the area around Judea. And again, he comes to the clear conclusion that there is no evidence of Torah. Knowledge of Torah, knowledge of the books, knowledge of Abraham, of Noah before him, of Moses, David, none of this is part and parcel of the religion practiced in Judah before 166. 166 seems to be the date where the Hasmoneans, the Maccabees, begin to adopt a Judaism that becomes much more recognizable to us. And you see then, after 166, clear indications that Torah is finally understood and known by the general population. Whether Torah was known by an elite before that, we really can't, Dr. Adler says he can't speculate on that, but it's clearly not part of the popular traditions. And we have some inklings in the biblical records where the worship of Baal remains very, very strong it's certainly in Israel before the Assyrian conquest in the 8th century. And it seems to indicate that, there are indications that Baal worship was present in Judea, although with less importance, as Yahweh became the dominant God. But again, Judaism does not seem to exist before 166 BC. Again, this is not to challenge anyone's belief, but the historical record is something else. Stories and belief are very, very important, but historical record speaks for itself. And the historical record, at least so far, seems to indicate that Judaism did not exist in a recognizable form until 166 BC and the Hasmonean period. There are scholars who are arguing, but it's much less of a consensus, that Judaism doesn't really exist before the Hellenistic period. But the 166 in BCE does fall in the Hellenistic period, and that is influenced by Hellenism. As Philo of Alexandria does speak about Moses, although in Philo's work, Moses is an angel, not a human being. And he seems to be part of of what the Gospel of John later terms as the Word of God, the Logos. It's a very interesting current of study, but I can't really go into it right now. Again, if you liked what you've heard, if you found it useful, please subscribe. It helps this channel, and it helps me do these talks on interesting subjects. Again, thank you very much. Please subscribe, share. Bye.